Hey friends and welcome. My name is Dr. Heather Carden and welcome to Ask Dr. Heather. So if you are brand new to my page, put a number 1 down. I want to make sure I give you a nice warm welcome and make sure that I give you the instructions so you can actually download your day to start your way in the right way. What does that mean? I have a guide that actually helps you share my favorite breakfast recipes, my favorite autoimmune, safe, low-carb, high-fat food list. I want to make sure you have access to that if you're brand new to my page. And hey, Kathy, thanks for joining me here today. And again, number 1, if you're brand new, and let me know where you're joining me from. So today we're going to talk about an egg fast. What happens here at Ask Dr. Heather is people send in questions after questions after questions, and I try to keep up with the questions and answer them as fast as I can. So, and hello, Dr. Lola from up north. Good to see you joining us today. So I try not to give shout outs to names because I never want to leave somebody out. So hello to everyone joining us. So the egg fast is a super trendy thing that many people have been trying. But what I'm going to tell you is that there just is no short-term fix. There's no way to speed up fat loss. There are some ways to accelerate them, but they're not permanent if you don't make lifestyle changes. So changes often lead to disappointment so there's a big if there, if it's not sustainable. People are like, what do you mean that change leads to disappointment? Change leads to disappointment if it is not sustained. Transformation, however, is sustainable when change happens and it's achieved through practice. So what does that mean? That means if you put things into place. So if you take out a sugary tea every day, you put that into place, you make the transformation of taking out the sugary tea, you do that for the rest of your life, you've made a transformation of yourself. But if you just actually change it for 10 days or change it for 4 days, then that's not really sustainable and you're going to go back to the way things were. This happens all the time. This is how yo-yo diet happens. So when we start talking about the egg fast, that's kind of comparable to someone doing like the HCG diet or someone maybe trying a carnivore, which none of them are negative, but there's pros and cons to each one of those. At Carden Center for Wellness and at Ask Dr. Heather, we're all about lifestyle. We're all about living the healthiest lifestyle, eating real whole foods. No quick fix is going to get you there. There are some fast start roads, which I absolutely support, especially if your doctor recommends it. Like if you go to your doctor and he says you've been diagnosed with epilepsy, we need to get you on a ketogenic diet as fast as we can. There are definitely ways that you can get there as fast as you can. Or if there's other health, I'm trying not to name any health diseases, that your doctor says we need to get you on a ketogenic diet ASAP. So there's, again, different ways to do that. But let's talk about the egg fast because that's the question I have been getting. But I want to preface this with this. Eggs are one of the top allergen worldwide. Eggs, one of the top allergens. So why would you want to eat as many eggs as you can, as fast as you can for several days? And what that does is eggs are a protein. And by that I mean, I'm a huge fan of eggs because eggs are the perfect protein. The yellow part on the inside, when it's not cooked, has inositol and choline, which are very vital for your brain, which we actually find in prime rib as well. But most of us cook the yellow part. We don't get organic farm fresh eggs, so you're not going to get those advantages of it. But eggs are actually the perfect protein. When cooked right, when raised right, we don't always have advantage to that. However, they are one of the top allergens, I think, just the way things are getting processed about. So when we talk about doing an egg fast, what happens is you eat eggs as when you're hungry, so you're eating one single protein. The pros to that is like the carnivore diet. You're eating one style of macro, which is a protein. We have 3 macronutrients, carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. That way it doesn't confuse the gut. You're only getting one type of macro, which is a protein. You still have to have insulin when you're digesting eggs. But what happens is that you slowly start to deplete your glucose and glycogen, which is how you actually get your body into ketosis. So that's why people start to lose weight. They start to lose inflammation because glucose is toxic for our body. How do we get rid of it? By not feeding the body glucose things like carbohydrates from fruits and pastas and starchy things and vegetables and legumes. You guys know what carbs are by now. So when you stop feeding your body carbohydrates that require insulin, that we actually lower overall glucose, so we're not refeeding and refueling glucose, we don't have to continue to dump it out. That's why people actually start to feel better. But living on an egg fast is not sustainable. So we talked about change can often lead to disappointment if it's not sustainable. An egg fast is not sustainable for life. Transformation would be have the eggs for breakfast, but don't have the French toast and don't have the juice and don't have the oatmeal or whatever else you have with it, toast and jam or whatever. So egg fill, think about this, an egg fast. I mean, some of the people are saying, how many eggs, how fast can you eat it? Does it speed up fat loss or weight loss? It can, because it reduces your calories if you don't have an allergy. It also will take some fat off because you're reducing your overall carbohydrate intake. But what happens is we also have 21 essential amino acids. By only eating eggs, you're actually robbing your body of other essential amino acids. So your body after 4 days could actually go into a starvation mode. So you might initially lose some weight or some fat, because that's why people do this egg fast, to get their body potentially into ketosis, to get some weight off pretty quick for maybe an event or something else that's happening. But what will happen is after 4 days, your body will stagnate. And the same will happen if you just eat chicken breast for a few days, or if you just decide to eat just green beans for a few days. After 4 days, study shows that your body says, is this the only thing I'm going to get? Then the body stagnates. But unfortunately, sometimes you have to, on an egg fast, you have to go back to eating real food. And what happens is you're so tired of eating eggs, which are sulfur containing. So if you have an allergy to sulfur, sometimes you're going to get a reaction from eating too many eggs. They can get very noxious inside and cause some gas issues. It can cause bad breath, which is not only fun, it can actually cause some serious problems inside your gut intestines when you're only feeding eggs, if you're eating them raw or semi-cooked or over easy. And again, it's an allergy. And over time, if maybe you didn't think you have an egg allergy, but you know you have a sulfur allergy, and the yellow part of the egg is sulfur, if you're eating way too many too fast, then you could actually potentially have an allergic reaction to it. Many people say, I don't have an egg allergy, but I do have a sulfur reaction from a medication, antibiotic that I've taken. That's in the same type of family. But you could actually become physically ill from eating too many eggs too fast and not eating anything else, because if you're not eating fibrous things or you're not eating raw vegetables are like Brillo pads, actually cling down to like bad things, toxins in our body, and pull them out. So why do an egg fast? People do it for very rapid fat loss, or they do it very rapidly to get into ketosis, but then you have to reintroduce foods. So that's kind of the nuts and bolts of what an egg fast is. And the important thing is, it's just a temporary type of fix, because you actually have to go back and eat foods, and it never fixes the underlying issue. I'm going to use the word never. I know it's a really hard word to use in social media, and I may get some banter back on this, but I don't think an egg fast ever fixes the underlying issue, whether it's a gut dysbiosis, or it's an overeating issue, or it's a craving issue. It really just doesn't really get it away, because you didn't change the habit. You didn't really transform that lifestyle of eating. So I really want to talk about that, because really what happens also, and I'm going to roll into an HCG because that's another question that I get. The HCG diet, you don't eat any fat with it. You eat very limited portions. You eat only very clean meat, like only white fish, no salmon, no tuna. You could have a little bit of cod. You could have some shellfish, things that don't have any very, very low omega oil. White chicken, not the dark meat. You can have steak one time a week, or hamburger. You can have just a very small list of vegetables, because you don't have any fat at all. Do you still get into ketosis with an HCG diet? The answer is yes, and it's been around since the 1940s. Does it tap into your stored fat? Yes. Do you have rapid weight loss? The answer is yes. Is it sustainable? No. You actually have to stop it within 42 days or 35 pounds. So the change leads to a result, but it can be disappointing because it's not sustainable. The transformation is not sustainable unless you roll it over into a healthier lifestyle, which is eating whole real foods and adding back in the fats. Often people say, because keto is such a hot topic word, and I love the ketogenic diet, as you know. I love a LCHF, low carb, high fat diet. I love it, love it, love it. We've been teaching about eating healthy fats since 20 some years ago. However, in the HCG diet, we have used in our clinic, because what it does is it gets a big chunk of weight off and gets people motivated. But what we do is we transition out of the HCG diet. And just with that being said, with the HCG diet, you actually can use exogenous ketones. And that makes me excited, because then people are getting the oxygen to their brain. They're getting in ketosis really quickly, and they're not having to suffer through the transition of the cravings. Their brain's not having to suffer through that brain loss that happens. We always tell people, don't make any major purchases, or we used to say in the olden days before we had Prove It's Ketones, don't make any major purchases either when you're going into ketosis. You can make them once you're there, but not while you're transitioning in, because your brain is not getting all the fuel that it needs until you actually get into ketosis. So we know that change is about a true transformation, and it's about consistency. It's not about perfect, but it's about being consistent each and every day. And so what would happen with an HCG diet, if you accidentally had a boo-boo day, what would happen is on traditional diet written by Dr. Simeon is said you would have a steak and tomato day. So you would eat one steak, so OMED, one meal a day. You'd have a 6 or 8 ounce steak, and you either have a serving of green beans or a tomato. It's kind of the same thing as like the egg fast. You have one meal a day, which would actually start out that glucose or glycogen. Then you would hit a reset in that. And with the HCG diet, you can only do it for up to 6 weeks. So if someone's saying you can do it longer, it's not true. It's not metabolically sound. You're not getting the vitamins and minerals that you need. You need fat. Your brain is 60% fat. Your joints need fats. Cholesterol breaks down into all of our hormones, our anti-aging hormones, our sex hormones. So we actually need healthy fats in our diet. So it's not sustainable. You can do it a short period of time, take a break, and then you can hit it again, which means you can do another round of it, but only safely if your body fat percentage is over 35%. I'm getting this question a lot. People say, well, you can get in ketosis on an HCG diet. True. Can you get in ketosis on an egg fast? True. You can get in ketosis on a long distance run. You can get in ketosis in a Zumba class. You can get in ketosis in a kickboxing class. It all depends on your macros. But would I recommend an egg fast? The answer is no. I would not recommend an egg fast. It's not sustainable. It's a short-term possible fix, but knowing that eggs are the #1 allergen and knowing that everyone doesn't have the availability of getting cage-free eggs, I just don't think it's for everyone. And then a carnivore diet, I'm going to finish with that. I think if you're stuck on a ketogenic diet and you've been doing really well and you've been eating healthy plant fats, not been doing all the bacon and all the processed porks and all the processed salami, and you've been doing more of the plant fats like avocado oil and sesame seeds and flax and hemp, and you've hit a plateau and you know that you're really following your body and you feel great and your blood work is all normal, your blood pressure is all normal, you're having that check, I think it's safe to do maybe a carnivore diet for a few days with your healthcare practitioner and say, I'm going to do a carnivore diet. I'm going to rotate some of those healthy red fishes in, those white fishes in, because what happens is when your body's only breaking down one macronutrient, no fats and no carbohydrates, then it really helps the gut kind of reset and break down just those amino acids. We do know that if you long-term fast, you can, compromise hair loss if you don't get enough protein. And then again, too much protein over a long period of time. Protein always uses insulin to break down, that we know that can actually lead to some other blood sugar issues and raise your blood sugar over a long period of time called gluconeogenesis. It can lead to cellular dehydration. That's what happens with bodybuilders, especially in the 80s when they were doing those huge scoops of protein powder and having, 300 or 400 grams of protein every single day. So work with a healthcare provider. That is, again, meant to be a short-term bridge to help fix where you want to go. So hopefully that helps answer your questions. Again, a lot of people asking about this egg fast. My thing is, if in doubt, keep it out. It's a pretty good rule there. And eat when hungry. And if in doubt, keep it out. Like if you would not rub it on your skin, if you wouldn't eat it, if you wouldn't give it to a baby, then you probably shouldn't put it in your mouth. So maybe this is a good day or a good challenge. It just started raining in the Midwest. The clouds settled in. Maybe it's a good day to declutter. Kids are back in school. You're kind of back into a routine. Hopefully all the summer fun is over. All the summer back to school parties over. I know we've got homecoming stuff this weekend. Maybe start decluttering all that stuff that kind of snuck back into your house over this time and get it out. So again, if you're brand new to Ask Dr. Heather, put a #1 down here. Definitely want to hear from you, and know that we are getting ready to do our next 10-day optimization program. And the results that we see with our 10-day optimization program is we see people release large volumes of fat. We see people get abundance of energy. This is transformations that are sustainable and changes. So when we talk about sustainable changes, I'm just going to be done with a Diet Coke. I know it doesn't have much sugar, but it still can make you gain weight. I'm just going to go back to going to bed at 10 o'clock instead of 1 o'clock. We see people eliminate cravings for long periods of time, like for 20 years. I've been practicing for 20 years, and people who did a class on me with our clinic 20 years ago are saying, I still have never gone back to that. I don't know why, but I just forgot that I didn't want it anymore. We see people tell us we're sleeping like a newborn baby. people like want to slow down the aging process. And again, being in practice for a couple of decades, now we know that people are looking for that fountain of youth, and they've discovered that it's not what you put on the outside, it's what happens on the inside that's coming out on the outside. So we actually teach you how to actually give those foods, because food is medicine, and how we actually treat the body well from the inside out, calming down the nervous system and doing things like sleeping on proper sheets and getting rid of the blue lights that actually slow down that aging process. So that was just a little pitch. So we are getting ready to kick off our 10-day on the 17th. I think it's the 17th of October. So we do limit spots on that. So you can give me a big shout out or just send me an email if you want to join us, because we're just getting ready to finish up our 10-day we've got going on right now. But I really wanted to address that egg fast. If you have a question for me, drop it down below in comments, because I do keep a running list of that. We are going to have a Candida Zoom. If you've got a question about Candida, yeast infection, anything like that, we're going to do a private Zoom, because I have so many questions. I'm getting my PowerPoint ready. And if you wondering if you've ever had Candida albicans, simply stick out your tongue. If you see white pasty stuff on your tongue, if you spit into a glass, you can take just a clear glass, and set it by your bed tonight before you go to bed. And in the morning, get some spit in your mouth and just spit in the can. There's a YouTube video I'll post down below here. I should have gotten my picture. I was trying to see if I had it pinned down there. And if you see strings floating down from the water from your spit, then you know that you have a Candida or a systemic yeast infection. If you just see it bubbling like normal spit bubbles, then you don't have you shouldn't suspect that you have a Candida albicans or a gut yeast issue. But I challenge you, if your tongue is all white and pasty and you do see those strings coming down, then go Google Candida albicans or gut yeast. And again, I'll put some links down below, but I will be doing a targeted Zoom, not a Facebook Live, because people want to ask questions and they want to keep that privacy there. And we'll probably be doing that in the next 10 days. Because I've got a list compiling, but I want to make sure I answer your questions. So drop them down below. Don't private message me a question, because any questions is a great question. I tell you that, because if you've asked it, somebody else has already asked it. So now oftentimes I do this and people like start asking me, I'll have like 100 questions in my inbox. Ask them right here. But I want to thank you guys for joining me. Have an amazing day. Again, if you're watching this on replay, drop a number 2 down. Let me know where you're watching from. If you're brand new to Ask Dr. Heather, drop a number 1. If you want to start your day in the right way, please download my ketogenic diet guide that is autoimmune friendly, that has all of my favorite breakfast ideas, or my top 4 breakfast dishes, which is AskDrHeather.net. It is absolutely free to subscribe. It has about 1,000 recipes that are all gluten-free. 95% are dairy-free. I have a lot of dairy-free alternatives, and again, a lot of healthy plant fats like a flax cake, and not a lot of those preservative meats and things like that. So again, thanks for joining me, guys. Good to see you, and have an amazing day. And this is absolutely meant to be shared. So if you know somebody else who's looking for better health, looking for craving controls, maybe has some questions, or super confused by what they're reading on the media, super confused by what they're hearing in the car pickup line, drop your question down below and I will do some research and I will see if I can get to the bottom of your question. Again, this is Dr. Heather from Ask Dr. Heather. In good health and happiness, we'll be seeing you soon.